Hi, I'm Jimmy Wales, founder of Wikipedia, and I'm here to interview my friend Alexander Görlach.
Görlach, right?
Görlach?
Yeah. Cool, great.
My Deutsch ist sehr schlecht.
So we go on in English then.
Yes.
We speak a lot about social media in these days. What do you think? Where's all this information gonna go to? Where is social media going to be in a few years?
Well, it's really a good question, because I think in many ways when we think about social media, the first forms of social media had a very simple parallel to the past. So email is a very simple parallel. You're sending someone a letter, very similar. Then when we get into something like Twitter, where there's nothing simply like that in traditional communications, where it's somehow broadcasting, but only to people who decide to listen, and so forth. It's a very different kind of thing. And then with Facebook, of course, has really similar types of features and so forth. Then we have something like Wikipedia, which is, again, maybe has a traditional analog of a group of people collaborating to write something, but it's certainly in a new form. So when I think about the future, I just think about it's not only about technical development, but it's about as we get a certain number of people up to a certain level of literacy with the tools, then there will be new innovations. What those are, I don't know. If I can find out, I'll do something.
But if you say be literate and able to use the technologies, the next thing is augmented reality. So we are able to let our footprints in whatever place we are on this planet. So it's this kind of, you go to Munich, you visit the main church, and you have on your cell you see what other people's commented on that side.
Yeah, I mean already we have certain interesting things. There are some applications of Wikipedia that are like this. Within Wikipedia, people have geotagged the coordinates of many things in Wikipedia. So for me, and I haven't seen a perfect implementation of this yet, but the perfect killer app for a mobile would be just a button where I say, what is this? And I push the button and it knows where I am, and it pops up the nearest Wikipedia entry, and then I can read about it. I think that's very cool. And not just for Wikipedia. Wikipedia is going to be, it's going to cover the most popular things and the most historically important. But there's plenty of times when people may want to do the same thing. Like, what is this? Oh, it's McDonald's. So okay.
Right. But speaking about Wikipedia, a few years ago when you merged, people say, well, that's the wisdom of the crowd. Today we have selected groups that really define whether or not a story is posted in the way it was posted. Is that a backdrop? Is it not?
Well, it's actually Wikipedia has always been more like that. People, when it first emerged, people talked about wisdom of the crowds a lot, and I've always resisted that because we knew internally that's this idea of Wikipedia's 10 million people adding one sentence each has never been really the case. It's always been a core group of editors who are deciding and exercising judgment about what's published or not. So it isn't really a change. It's just that people have finally started to notice, now we have a better understanding that Wikipedia actually does work that way. That it isn't some kind of a magical emergent phenomenon. It's actually far more traditional, I think, than most people realize. Well, but it's also untraditional in many ways, of course.
Well, tradition would have a philosophically clear vision of what man is like. Now we have the web, and the web, we speak a lot about algorithms. So is everything that we do predictable? Is it formable into algorithms, what man is about?
Well, I don't think so. Not yet, anyway. Certainly, when we look at something like Wikipedia, which I think most people agree it's a remarkable phenomenon that has happened on the web, and the technology behind Wikipedia is, there's almost no technology really, right? That's the thing. I mean, the internet is technology and so forth, but it's just a database and a way for people to edit and some tools. There's no algorithms. Computers aren't really deciding things. And we're very far from that. I mean, the things that we are able to do now with machine intelligence are pretty remarkable, but we're still very far from encapsulating genuine human judgment in that way. And then in terms of predictability, yes, certainly behavioral targeting of advertising, there are certain predictable patterns that sort of make sense, which is not a surprise, right? That's not a sudden discovery that, if you're a 21-year-old single male, you might want to look at girls. And so the advertisements, you know, they recognize that. Or, you know, if you are on a website about babies being born and what young infants are like, you might want to buy some things for a baby, right? This is basic behavioral targeting that we understand. It has gotten a lot more sophisticated, but I still think there's nothing too advanced about it yet.
Like for centuries, philosophers have given thought whether or not human will is free, and this is why I asked you that before. But now we see it like in simple ways. This question seems to be answered by Google, by advertisement in the web, by how the web works. Is that the right conclusion or not?
Well, I mean, I think we definitely have free will, and I don't think that there's anything about recognizing patterns in human behavior that would contradict that, not at a fundamental level. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I would say...
Maybe Google knows more about me than I realize.
Would you say we have not no words to speak about? Do we lack a philosophy of the net? Is that something we should develop?
Well, that's an interesting question. I do think that there is sort of maybe not at the fundamental level of epistemology, theory of knowledge, that sort of thing. I don't think we have any real basic challenges there. But I do think that when we get up higher into, say, political philosophy, when we start to think about, you know, the kinds of subjects around organization of society, democracy, those kinds of things, I do think that there are emerging institutions and emerging patterns of behavior that are not well understood, that are not well captured by traditional ways of thinking. Certainly when we think about a large-scale human effort like Wikipedia, where it's a very organized, very systematic effort, but that is taking place globally. Certainly the website is subject to U.S. law and law in some other places, but when we think about the community itself really exists outside any traditional political framework. There is no, you know, it's a social organization that is global and really transcends all kinds of government institutions. You know, just as one example, in many local communities, we create local nonprofit organizations. It started in Germany with the Verein. Germans love their Vereins.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, what do you call two Germans? A Verein.
That's very interesting.
What do you call three Germans? Verein with problems.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
So, I heard that from Germans. But now when we look in China, for example, right, it's very difficult to form the equivalent of a Verein in China. They don't have that social institution, and the government's very suspicious of groups of people coming together for social causes. That's just not part of the authoritarian tradition in China. It's something they very much frown on because they don't know if this group may begin to agitate or demand change, and they don't want that kind of organization. But the truth is, without any formal legal structure, the truth is the Chinese community works together online on Wikipedia in the same way the German community does, and they don't need a formal organization necessarily to do that. And so those are the kinds of things, you know, other things would be like the possibility of social uprising coming from Twitter, which well, the cases that we know of so far, they all seem pretty good, and we're pretty happy about it. Certainly, if we see, you know, democracy activists in Iran twittering about police brutality in the aftermath of an election that was perceived to be unfair, we think that's a good thing. People are coming together there and beginning to demand their rights and getting organized. On the other hand, it's also a bit of a mob phenomenon, and therefore dangerous because we don't know, right? And so, do we really have political philosophy or a deep understanding? You know, we have a lot of game theory today to talk about politics and things like this, and that's great. A lot of those ideas can be applied here, but I don't think that we really understand them.